At 6 in the morning, Ruth sets the table. Oatmeal with cream from the Holsteins, eggs from the laying hens, bread she baked 2 days ago with butter we churned last week, and coffee so strong you could stand a spoon in it. The whole family sits down together. Nobody is standing at a counter eating something out of a wrapper. Nobody is skipping this meal because they are not hungry. We eat because the work starts in an hour, and the body needs fuel for what the day is about to ask of it. Noon is when the men come in from the field and the women bring the big meal to the table. This is the heavy one. Meat from the smokehouse, potatoes from the root cellar, vegetables from the garden, if it is summer, or from the jars in the basement, if it is winter. Bread and butter again, because there is always bread and butter. The table is full and the plates are full, and the conversation is short because the food is hot and the work is waiting. This is the meal that carries the day. Every farmer in my district eats this way, and every farmer's wife cooks this way, because the body doing the heaviest work needs the heaviest fuel at the point when the sun is highest and the energy is needed most. By 6 in the evening, the table is set again, but the meal is lighter, something simple that fills the belly without weighing it down. By 6:30, the meal is done, the dishes are washed, and nobody in this house eats again until morning. The oil lamp goes on in the sitting room, Ruth picks up her mending, and the evening is quiet. There is no screen pulling us toward the kitchen. There is no bright light keeping the body awake past when it wants to sleep. And there is no hand reaching into a bag of something at 9 o'clock because the television made the body think it was still time to eat. That is 3 meals a day, eaten at 3 times the sun marks, with nothing in between and nothing after dark. My family has eaten this way for 200 years on this farm. Every Amish family I know eats this way. And the reason nobody has ever told you to try it is that there is no product to sell when the advice is to stop eating. My name is Noah Yoder, and I am Amish. I farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Today I want to show you what happens inside your body when you eat with the sun and stop when the dark comes. That pattern does something no diet plan and no supplement bottle has ever been able to match. And the reason has nothing to do with what you eat and everything to do with when you eat it. Most folks watching this eat over a window of 14 or 15 hours a day. Breakfast at 7, a snack at 10, lunch at noon, a snack at 3, dinner at 7, something from the cupboard at 9 or 10. The body barely finishes digesting one thing before the next thing arrives. The cleaning crew that is supposed to work the night shift never gets to clock in because the kitchen never closes. And by morning, the body has not repaired itself the way it needed to, and the day starts with a debt the next day has to carry. Before I go further, for the folks who want everything I have taught on this channel in one place, I have put it together in a book. The link is in the description. I will not push it again, an honest word before we get into this. I am not a doctor, and I am not telling you how much to eat or what to eat. That is between you and your doctor and your own body. What I am showing you is when my family eats, the pattern the day follows, and the plain reason it works. If you are on medication that needs to be taken with food at specific times, do not change your schedule without talking to your doctor first. If you have diabetes or blood sugar problems, this matters even more. Your doctor needs to know before you shift when you eat, because some medications depend on the timing. I will not have you on my conscience because you skipped a meal your body needed to take a pill safely. And I will be honest with you about why the people who sell you food after dark have never once mentioned that your body does not want it. That part comes later, so stay with me. Now, let me walk you through the day the way my body experiences it. Because the clock inside you works the way the clock inside me works, it just has not been allowed to do its job. In the morning, your body is ready to eat, not because the alarm went off, but because the digestive system wakes up with the light just as the brain does. The stomach produces more acid in the morning. The pancreas is more sensitive to food in the first hours of the day, which means the sugar from your breakfast gets handled quickly and cleanly. The researchers who study this say your insulin, which is the thing your body uses to move sugar from the blood into the cells where it is needed, works best in the morning. It is sharpest, fastest, and most efficient when the sun is up and the body has been fasting through the night. This is why a farm breakfast matters. The body is ready for fuel. The machinery is warmed up and waiting. When you eat a solid breakfast at 6 or 7 in the morning, the body processes it the way a good engine processes clean fuel, efficiently, completely, with nothing left over that needs to be stored. When you skip breakfast and eat your first meal at noon, you have missed the window when the machinery was running at its best. The food you eat later meets a system that has already started to slow down. It still processes the meal, but it does it the way a tired worker does a late job, less efficiently, less completely, with more left over at the end. I have talked to English folks who tell me they are never hungry in the morning. They drink coffee and eat nothing until lunch, and by lunchtime, they are so hungry, they eat too much too fast. The body they are feeding at noon is not the body they had at 7. The morning body was ready and waiting. The noon body has been running on empty for 5 hours and grabs at whatever arrives, and the insulin that would have handled the breakfast smoothly at 7 is working harder and slower by the time the lunch shows up. Ruth makes breakfast for this family every morning, and she has done it for 40 years. She does not do it because someone told her it was healthy. She does it because the men need to eat before they work, and the children need to eat before they learn. The morning meal has been the foundation of the day on this farm since before anyone alive can remember. The health came with the habit, the way it always does when the habit lines up with what the body was built to expect. At noon, the biggest meal arrives, and this is where the Amish pattern differs from the way most folks in the English world eat. Most people I talk to eat their heaviest meal in the evening, a big dinner at 7 or 8 o'clock, sometimes later, with the television on and the day already winding down. Asking your body to handle a heavy load at 8 in the evening is like asking a farmhand to do his best work at the end of a 12-hour day. He will do it, but he will do it poorly, and the work will show the strain. At noon, the body is still at its peak. The digestive system is fully engaged, and the energy from a big midday meal goes directly into the afternoon work, into the muscles, into the brain, into the tasks the body is doing right now. Nothing sits and nothing stores. Nothing waits around for a place to go because the body is using it as fast as it arrives. The men in my district come in from the field at noon covered in sweat and dust. They sit down to a meal that would stagger most people: pork, potatoes, fresh vegetables, bread with butter, pie if someone baked one. They eat all of it, they stand up, and they go back to work, and none of them carries the weight you would expect from a meal that size. The food goes to the work because the work is waiting for it. The timing is everything. Before we go on, for the folks who want help putting these old ways into their own daily life, Ruth and I have put together a community where we walk through all of this together. The link is in the description. The women who cook in my community have a saying that has stuck with me since I was a boy. The table should be heavy at noon and light at dark. They do not say it because they read it somewhere. They say it because their mothers said it, and their mothers' mothers said it. And the saying has outlived every single diet book ever printed because it lines up with what the body actually needs. A heavy table at noon means the fuel arrives when the work is hardest. A light table at dark means the body can begin to wind down without a heavy load sitting in the stomach, asking for attention the gut no longer wants to give. Now, the evening meal. This is where the pattern matters most and where the modern world has gotten it most wrong. By 6 o'clock, the body is beginning to wind down. The digestive system is slowing the way the farm slows when the sun drops below the tree line. The insulin is less effective than it was at noon, and much less effective than it was at breakfast. Whatever you eat now will be processed more slowly, less completely, and more of it will end up stored rather than used. The body is not broken. The body is doing exactly what it was designed to do, shifting from the work of the day to the repair of the night. Digestion and repair do not run well at the same time, the same way you cannot plow a field and mend a fence at the same hour. In my house, the evening meal is light because the work is done. Soup, bread, maybe some cheese or cold meat. Ruth has it on the table by 6 and cleared by 6:30, and that is the last food anyone in this house sees until morning. The kitchen is dark by 7. The oil lamp is on in the sitting room, the children are reading or playing quietly, and the body has a full night of fasting ahead of it before breakfast comes again. Here is what most people do not realize about the hours after supper. The body has a second clock, not in the brain, but in the gut. The stomach, the intestines, the liver, they all follow a rhythm that tracks the sun the way the brain does. When the sun goes down, the gut clock begins to wind down. The enzymes that break down food slow their production. The stomach makes less acid. The liver shifts from processing incoming fuel to cleaning the blood and sorting what needs to be stored from what needs to be discarded. The whole system is moving toward maintenance mode, and every bite of food you put in after that shift begins pulls it back toward work mode. When you eat at 9 or 10 at night, the gut has already started closing for the day. The food arrives to a factory that has sent half its workers home. It sits longer and processes slower. The sugars in that food hit the blood at a time when the insulin is at its weakest, which means the sugar stays in the blood longer than it would have at noon. The researchers who measure this have found that the same meal, identical portions, identical ingredients, produces a measurably higher blood sugar response at 10 o'clock at night than it does at noon. The food did not change. The clock did. Those overnight hours are not empty hours for the body. The researchers have found that when the body goes without food for an extended stretch, somewhere around the 12-hour mark, it begins switching from processing food to cleaning house. The cells begin a repair cycle that only runs when digestion stops. The waste that built up during the day gets cleared. The damaged parts get tagged and replaced. Old cells that have stopped working the way they should get broken down and recycled into raw material the body can use to build new ones. The researchers call this process autophagy, which means self-eating, though I prefer to think of it as the body taking out the trash while the kitchen is closed. Think of it the way you would think about cleaning a barn. You cannot sweep the floor while the cows are being milked, and the hay is being moved and the men are walking back and forth with buckets. You sweep the floor after the work stops and the barn is quiet. The body works exactly this way. The cleaning happens when the eating stops, and only when the eating stops, and it needs a full stretch of quiet to do the job properly. This cleaning cycle cannot run while you are eating. Every time you eat something, even a handful of crackers at 10 o'clock at night, the body switches back from cleaning to digesting. The repair stops, and the cleaning crew goes home, and it does not start again until the food is processed and the body realizes nothing else is coming. A late-night snack at 10 o'clock can delay the cleaning cycle by 2 or 3 hours, which means the body that should have been repairing itself from 11 until 6 was repairing itself from 2 until 6. You lost 3 hours of maintenance because you ate a bowl of cereal you did not need. My grandfather never ate after supper. He ate at 3 set times, and between those meals and after the last one, he ate nothing. He did not call this a fast. He did not call it a plan or a strategy. He called it eating, the way he called walking to the barn, walking and sleeping when it got dark sleeping. The idea that eating had a window to be managed would have puzzled him. You eat when the sun is up and you stop when it goes down, because that is how eating works when nobody is selling you something at midnight. I asked him once, when I was young, why he never ate before bed the way some of the English neighbors did. He looked at me the way he looked at questions that answered themselves and said the kitchen was dark and he was tired and the food would still be there in the morning. He said a man who eats when he should be sleeping will sleep when he should be working, and in all his years he had never met a single exception to that rule. He did not know about the cleaning cycle or the gut clock or any of the things the researchers have since measured. He just knew that eating in the dark felt wrong, the way plowing in the rain felt wrong. The conditions were not right and the work would suffer. Ruth and the women in my community understand this better than anyone because they are the ones who set the rhythm. They decide when the table is laid and when it is cleared, and once it is cleared, it stays cleared. The children know it, and the men know it. Nobody argues about it because nobody thinks about it, the way nobody thinks about breathing. The eating follows the light, and the light follows the sun, and the sun has been keeping the schedule since before any of us were born. Remember what I said at the start about why the people who sell you food after dark have never mentioned that your body does not want it. Here is who profits from you eating at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. An average American household spends somewhere around $100 to $150 a month on food eaten outside of the three main meals: snacks, chips, ice cream, cereal eaten from the box at 10 o'clock, the crackers and cheese you carry to the couch, the second helping reheated at 9 because the television is still on and the kitchen is still lit. That is $1,200 to $1,800 a year, over 10 years. That is somewhere between $12,000 and $18,000 on food your body did not ask for and cannot process well, eaten during hours when the digestive system has already clocked out for the night. Every company that makes snack food knows exactly when you eat their products. They know it is after dinner, in front of a screen, in a brightly lit room. They have studied the connection between the light of the television and the impulse to reach for something, and they have designed their packaging and their shelf placement around that impulse. The screen does not make you hungry. The screen makes you think you are hungry, and the snack aisle answers that thought with a product on every shelf, at every height, at every checkout lane. Your grandparents did not eat after supper. They could not. The house was dim and the cupboard was closed and nobody wandered to the refrigerator because most of them did not have one. The snacking economy did not exist because the technology that drives it, bright electric lights, television, refrigeration that keeps food available and visible at any hour, did not exist. Your grandparents stopped eating when the sun went down for exactly the reason my family stops. The dark told them the day was done, and they listened, and their bodies did the repair work they were designed to do every night without anyone interrupting it with a bowl of cereal at 10 o'clock. I am not telling you there was a meeting where the food companies decided to keep you eating past dark. I do not believe in that kind of thing. It is a quiet agreement among everybody who profits from your evening appetite to never mention that the body does not need what they are selling. The snack company does not need to call the television company. They just both need you on the couch at 9 o'clock with the lights on, and the eating takes care of itself. Your doctor is a good person inside a system that does not have a billing code for eating with the sun. The system pays for blood sugar tests and cholesterol panels and metabolic screenings. There is no code for closing the kitchen at 6:30, so it never comes up, and you leave the office with a pamphlet about what to eat instead of a conversation about when to stop. My grandmother would have told you exactly that for nothing. Eat when the sun is up, stop when it goes down, and let the body do its work in the dark. She would not have called it a plan. She would have called it common sense. So here is what I want you to do tomorrow. One thing and nothing else. Eat your supper and close the kitchen. Whatever time you eat your evening meal, make it the last food of the day. When the dishes are washed and the table is cleared, the kitchen is done. Do not go back for a snack. Do not carry anything to the couch. Do not open the refrigerator at 9 o'clock because the screen made your mouth think it was hungry. Just let the evening be the evening and let the body do the work it has been waiting to do since the last bite of supper. Those first 2 nights will be the hardest. because the habit of reaching for something after dinner is strong, and the screen will make it stronger. You will feel an urge that is not hunger. It is habit dressed up as hunger, and the body knows the difference, even if the mind does not. Walk past it. Hum if it helps. You know how to do that now. By the third night, the urge softens. By the fifth, it feels normal. By the end of the week, the kitchen closes after supper without any effort, and the evening feels different in a way that has nothing to do with the food and everything to do with the quiet. You do not have to eat differently. You do not have to eat less. You do not have to change what is on your plate or buy anything new or follow a plan with a name. Just stop eating when the evening meal is done. You will notice something by the end of the first week, and it will surprise you. The sleep comes easier when the stomach is empty. The morning appetite returns. The real appetite. The kind that makes breakfast feel like something your body is asking for instead of something you force because someone told you it was important. And there is a lightness in the first hours of the morning that is difficult to describe. Most people in this country have not gone that long without food since they were children, so they do not know what they are missing. The researchers who study this have found that the body in a 12-hour fasting state shows measurably different blood markers than the body that has been eating over a 15 or 16-hour window. Lower inflammation, better insulin numbers, cleaner blood work across the board. And all that changed was the when, not the what. There is a rhythm to eating on this farm that follows the seasons, the way it follows the sun. In summer, the garden is full, and the meals are heavy with tomatoes and corn and green beans that were in the ground that morning. In winter, the meals come from the root cellar and the canning jars Ruth put up in August, beets and pickled cucumbers and applesauce and jars of pork she sealed when the butchering was done in December. The food changes with the calendar, but the timing never changes. Breakfast at 6, dinner at noon, supper by 6, and nothing after dark. The rhythm holds in every season because the sun holds it, and the sun does not negotiate. On church Sundays, the pattern shifts slightly. The midday meal comes later because the service runs long, and the food is brought by every family and spread on tables that stretch the length of the house. But even then, the evening is light, and the kitchen closes when the dark comes. Nobody carries a plate to the sitting room at 9 o'clock because nobody is awake at 9 o'clock. The rhythm of the community holds the individual the way a current holds a boat, and nobody drifts because nobody has a reason to. Once you have done this for a week, closed the kitchen after supper and felt what the morning is like when the body has had a full night to work, everything changes, not dramatically, but quietly and steadily. The way a field looks different after a week of rain, not because anything was added, but because something was finally allowed to do what it was always trying to do. Everything else I have shown you on this channel will sit differently in your understanding after that week. The sunlight, the walking, the trees, the humming, the ground under your feet. They are all pieces of one life, and that life has a rhythm. The rhythm starts with when you eat. Tell me in the comments what time you eat your last meal of the day and whether anyone in your family still eats the way the old folks ate, 3 meals, nothing between, and the kitchen dark by 7. I read every single one. Next time I am going to show you what cold water does to a nerve that runs from your face to your heart. Every Amish farmer starts his morning with a pump handle and a bucket instead of a hot shower. Ruth says the sound I make when the cold water hits my face could wake the dead. She is probably right, but so is the water. What your body needs has not changed in 10,000 years. Only what they sell you has changed.